Welcome to another episode of the Thank You Surfing Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by
Brightbox, marketing for design, architecture, and hospitality. IMAM Capital, experts in revitalizing Miami's urban multifamily real estate. And Team Key Aquatics, fostering growth and excellence in aquatic sports.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brad Wells from Thank You Surfing. This is Talk Story Season 3, Episode 3? I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Episode 3. We've had some numbering issues. We'll get those files worked out. I'm really happy to be joined by my friends here. I've got
Amanda
and
Erika.
Any affiliations that you'd like to mention at this point? Shameless plugs? No one?
Well, I can. I am the founder of Salty Souls and the Salty Club, which are all-female surf and yoga empowerment trips and a surf-focused fitness app as well.
There you go. So you can check those things out. We'll probably put those in the show notes. You can look them up.
What about my Instagram?
Yeah, all that stuff. Amanda's Instagram.
Kidding.
No.
This is Amanda, 3 A's at the beginning.
Is it?
This is AAA.
Oh, that's right.
Amanda.
That is your handle. I
Yeah.
thought you were just being clever.
No. Triple A.
Yeah. Wow, this podcast's off to a great start. Lovely. We are in El Zonte, El Salvador. And we are currently sitting on, I guess you call this a porch, a veranda of Erika and Amanda's house.
El Rancho?
The Oasis.
Yeah, the Oasis.
That's what it's called?
That's our home, yes, the
Okay.
Oasis.
The Oasis, yeah. So we're at the Oasis, and we started late because we're in El Zonte, and everything starts late here. And then I had a few minor mishaps this morning, including car rentals. I was schwitzing on the way over here, and I had to change shirts. a lot of stuff happens here in El Zonte.
Life in the tropics.
And we are here to talk about it. So you may remember Thank You Surfing podcast when my friend Chris was alive, Chris from First Shop, and we used to get together pretty much once a week and talk about surfing. We did this before we started recording those things, and as a surf shop is a sort of like epicenter or mecca for the surf community, other people would stop by and they'd join in. And next thing you knew, we were doing a podcast. Chris died suddenly and quite tragically, and I really couldn't do this shit anymore. And then I started again. It's a little hard. But the thing was that we were just like looking at our own little community and what it meant to be a surfer there and talk about all the things that happened in Miami. And then we realized like, oh shit, there's like this whole other world of surfing that happens in other little communities. And so why don't we take this show on the road? And we did. We went up to Nomad Surf Shop and we did a podcast there and got a feeling of like, what's it like to live up in Palm Beach and like be a surfer there? And I mean, check that episode. It's hilarious. And then there's another one that we did in North Miami, which is part of, the Miami surf scene, but it's sort of like halved, and like the North County guys and the South County guys, South Beach, North Beach, like kind of like quarrel and fight, and it's hilarious because we're in the same little zone. And now I'm in like a whole other country and meeting all these different people, and I'm realizing, like we've been talking about surf culture as a whole this whole time on this podcast, and now I just want to do it with different people in different places and understand like what is your surfing experience, what is surfing, and what does the surf culture mean to you. And over time I guess we'll just like have a whole investigation of what the hell that means to all of you guys and everyone else around it. So with that, Erika, Amanda, what's the latest in surfing? What are you seeing happening? What's happening in your surfing? What's happening in your surf community?
Well, here we're seeing an increase in the number of people in the water.
All over the world.
Yeah, but definitely noticeable this high season. A lot of friends in the water, but I guess that I'm always trying to remind myself that it's not as dense as other places. We're still pretty lucky, but I think it's something I've observed a lot here. Surfing has gotten more popular, and
more people are visiting El Salvador for sure, which is good and bad. We'll say good, mainly.
I mean, I think you hit it with lots of friends in the water. So, yeah, for me, there's lots of friends in the water here, which is nice. There's more people, too. But the friends are key. The friends make it.
That's an interesting idea. I mean, all the outdoor sports really exploded during COVID times. Skiing, golfing, hiking, fishing. I mean, you couldn't buy a pair of roller skates. Every store was sold out. And so surfing hit that same sort of, I don't know, surge. And now we're seeing it globally, but again, like in here in like our little place. But it is a tourist town. And so those tourists bring an economy with it. And it's kind of funny because, you know, like none of us are from here, you know, and so we're like, well, there's lots of people showing up, and it's like, well,
we included.
Yeah, we are the problem. And so you look around, and you're like, damn, this place is so crowded. And it's like, well, why don't you paddle in, you know? And I guess it's sort of like, how do you think that that'll impact your surfing, and will you go out and at different times of the day where the waves are crappier because of that, or do you think you're going to go on trips to the middle of the jungle, or maybe go where it's freezing cold?
That's a good question. Well, one, for sure, it forces you to kind of look for different windows, time windows to surf. Like, I feel I'm lucky enough to have full-on freedom of schedule as it comes to work, so I can surf in different hours, so why not? And honestly, sometimes here it's going to be really good at midday and almost nobody out, so yeah. And then forces you to also maybe think of going to explore other breaks around. Like, the truth is that there's so many different little breaks here, especially right now it's summer and it's beach break season. There's a lot of beach break that are probably super uncrowded, so why not go check them out, and you can surf only with your friends still. And also, I think that I've gotten interested in other sports. I've been running a lot, and partly because I love running, but also partly because when I feel the surf is very crowded, or the conditions are not optimal, I'm like, oh, I also love something else, so I'll go do a little bit more of that.
Well, that's fun. Not being completely surf focused and psycho about it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that like? It sounds
it's good.
Tell us.
It sounds fun. I think the audience would all like to hear about this.
No, but it's fun because with running, like, I feel like the satisfaction I'm gonna get out of it is like promise, in the sense that it's surfing. You never know. Sometimes you have good sessions, sometimes not. But like running or any other kind of sport you do outside of the water that is not so condition dependent. You're sure you're gonna get your fix, and you're gonna be satisfied at the end of your experience. So that's kind of like when I want to be sure I'm gonna be like satisfied with my hour. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm gonna go for a run, and you know,
satisfaction guaranteed.
Yes, exactly. Surfing doesn't always provide that.
You clearly have a different experience running than I do.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like with the most bewildered look on my face.
But I did say, so I got injured a little while ago, and I was like, wow, I really need to diversify my sources of joy because, you know, I couldn't get into the water, and I struggled. I really struggled. I was like, what am I going to do? I mean, granted, I couldn't run. I couldn't do yoga. I couldn't do a lot of other things that might have fueled the joy. But I'm like, do I need to, take up pottery or something that's not so physical so that, when the injuries happen, because they will, how am I staying sane?
Yeah. I think everybody knows that sort of like, now what sort of feeling when something gets taken away from you and you have an injury or an illness or you have to move somewhere or whatever the case may be. It can be kind of shocking to have to replace surfing. Or at least maybe a better way to say it is like augment it, Erika, like not be so focused on it.
Yeah.
Well, this question is really about like the latest and the happenings in surfing. Do you guys keep up on like surfing in the news? Like, do you know what's happening in the contests? Are you interested in what's happening in the Olympics? I mean, it's going to be in the Olympics this year. Crazy. What? And does anybody care?
Yeah, I mean, I follow from, definitely on social media, and I've seen that Carissa retired and that Steph Gilmore is taking a year off, and that.
Yeah, so what's up with that? You're like making eyes. You're like that. You're like saying something out saying something.
No, but I mean, no, I'm not. Like, in the sense that, like, a lot of people are saying that this might be a ripple from the new formula, or like the recent change in the formula of the contest. I haven't dug into that so much. Like, I'm just sad because Carissa is my favorite surfer, and I'm sad that she's gonna be off the tour, but I'm so really happy for her that she can start to free surf. I can only imagine what it's like to be like so many years on the tour, and it must be a joy to now go back to surfing, that being your work. And but yeah, I guess that like Steph also taking a year off has maybe something to do with the format of the competition. But in any case, like, it's interesting to see how there's definitely this new generation that is now gonna have all their chances to shine. But I don't have a strict opinion on the format of the competition. If you're trying to make me say something.
Yeah, very diplomatic.
And as for the Olympics, obviously we've all seen like all the controversy with the tower, and
let's just for historical context, in case this comes out another point, they need to build a judging tower, or they want to build a judging tower to judge the contest in Tahiti for the Olympics for surfing. And there's an existing tower, and they've done a lot of contests there over the years, and the new tower, there was sort of like a public outcry, like, hey, this is maybe like an environmental problem in terms of trying to do the construction on the reef. And then there was sort of a protest, and they're like, no, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. And they're like, okay. And then they like ran a barge around on the reef. And it was like
heartbreaking,
comically ironic. And you're just like, are you serious? Like, that's exactly what they said was going to happen. And it happened in the matter of like a minute.
Yeah.
And I don't know if has it been resolved yet?
No, I think they're moving forward, honestly. And I think that like this is definitely, this problem of the tower and breaking the reef is also something we're seeing here when there's been a lot more international competition in the last few years. They've built a lot of temporary structures that then were taken apart without having really a consideration on the environment and the effect on the ocean. True. Yeah. And it's going to keep happening. They're building more, theoretically, like sustainable places, tower, or like structures for the games. But it's a huge thing for me. It's so ironic that with surf competition, we know, and like with the Surf City project, we know that the waves, the ocean is like blue gold. That's what they're really putting forward as their main resource and the jewel of all of this. But then nobody's really thinking of making sure it's not getting destroyed simultaneously.
Yes,
and that's absolutely wild. You're about to ruin your main resource, and if the ocean gets dirty or the waves is getting broken, and or the sea bottom is getting affected, then you're killing your main resource of income in a way.
Yeah, it's completely
or even just the water.
Like, I always say, like, where's all the shit gonna go, actually? Like, with development, you look at Tagazout was closed for a couple of years in Morocco, or unsurfable because people were getting so sick. So, yeah, not just the actual, structures and the wave itself, but the water. Is it so dirty that you can't go in without nearly dying?
Yeah, any development has impacts, and like coastal development is like a very dynamic environment with a lot of exposure, like you're saying as well, for recreation, and like you're saying, you're calling it blue gold, and they called it Surf City for a reason, like surf, and then, well, city is where they make all the money. And it's sad, and it's something to watch over, because it's not just here in El Salvador that these things are happening. We're talking about it happening in Tahiti, and I don't know how the decision making gets so far from the actual resource itself. And maybe this is why we have oil spills. Like the decisions are made in some corporate office, on the 45th floor, and there's some guy in the Arctic that, I don't know if drilling like this is a great idea. You know, and that never goes all the way back up to the offices where the decisions are being made. And he was like, yeah, well, you guys have a surf contest. You need to judge it, right? Where are you going to judge it from? That old piece of crap? That doesn't seem safe. Yeah, build a safer one. Great idea. I mean, if you hear it like that, it makes a lot of sense. And then if you hear it on the ground, like, what was that? That was the reef. You're like, oh, maybe not such a good idea. And yeah, so, I mean, I guess that's just about like communicating all the way back and forth. And I mean, should surfing be in the Olympics in the first place? Yeah. I mean, we're talking about surfing as a culture, and that is making it a sport. Oh, what do you think about pools? Like surfing in a wave pool. Why don't they do the Olympics in a wave pool? That makes it like a sport to me. It's like gymnastics. Have you seen these kids in the pools? Mm-hmm. Whoa, they're doing like 37 backflips at once with a spinny thing.
It's true. I've never thought about it, but it would make sense if Olympics were in a pool.
Everyone gets the same waves.
Yeah.
The judging is right there.
It takes like many elements out of surfing out, though, but as in the context of the Olympics of being a judged sport, like with so many rules, I guess if it allow them to not destroy the reef.
and wait, where's the Olympics this year? Paris.
Yeah.
Where's the surf contest?
Chupu.
Tahiti.
Yeah, but because it belongs to France.
Yeah, I know, but why don't they
that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, so it's like why don't they have the Winter Olympics in Paris too, and then go to Chamonix for the skiing part? It's like no, you can't do that. Like, what do you mean? You're just having remote events for the Olympics now? Any of your territories can just jump in anywhere you've been a colonialist.
That being said, I think it's going to be cool to watch.
Yeah, well, especially. Yeah, and I think this is the part where you're like, again, are they putting surfing first, or they want to see carnage? I mean, what's better than sending people over the ledge at the end of the road? I mean, my goodness, that's a crazy I mean, some of these people probably aren't qualified. They made the best in their country, but they're not qualified to surf that wave.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing.
I know.
It's kind of nuts.
It's going to be nuts. But then, you know that the ISA send a lot of the kids for like 1 week all-inclusive to practice in that wave. Brian and a lot of Brian being a local surfer here, and a lot of surfers from developing countries, or ones that have less possibilities, were sent for a week. Not that you can learn to surf chupu in a week, but I thought it was still a very cool opportunity that was offered to them.
Yeah, that's great. Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely a positive. You don't want to take away where there is positivity, but gosh, I'll be looking at that forecast. That's for sure.
No, but for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward, because even when, for me, the parallel is when the girls competed at pipe for the first time. That year that there was a shark attack at the other wherever they normally compete, at Sunset Beach or something like. Anyways, where the girls normally compete, there was a shark attack, or they've seen some sharks, so they were like, all of a sudden, like, oh, we're gonna move you to pipe, which they didn't get any practice. They never get to surf pipe by themselves because it has never been a thing for women. And now we're talking the best woman in the world being thrown at pipe, and holy cow, like, it was scary. It was bad. It was hard.
It's pipe.
That's when I realized how hard pipe is, because the boys makes it look so easy, and not easy, but like relatively easy, doable at least. And then the girls were getting smashed, and I was like, okay, that really put in perspective how hard this wave is, because you've got the best women in the world, and they're all wiping out so bad. And so I think it's the same with chupu now, is that, oh my God, it's, as you say, not everybody has the level. You must be you might be a very, very good surfer, but if you never practice in such kind of wave, it's like, holy, like.
It's a different kind of thing altogether. It's I don't know, like, I grew up skiing on the East Coast, and we had like little icy, you can't even call it like a mountain. It's like a hill. And then you go ski like in the French Alps, and you're like, this is not the same at all. Like, what sport is this? And that's like these guys, if like they grew up surfing in 2-foot wind swell, and then you're going to put them in that 10 to 15 foot
pool. But I think it does apply to other sports though. Snowboarding, skiing, anything that is extreme and with a changing terrain.
I mean, yeah, the changing terrain for sure, but like giant slalom is giant slalom. And like the giant slalom run that you practice on as a kid is, I mean, maybe not like, what's that one in Austria? That's insane. But anyway, you know, like it's sort of the same. Like the reef at Tahiti is not like the sand in San Clemente, for example.
Yeah, we will see.
We will see. All right, I got some other questions for you. So the first question is, what's surfing like where you are from? But I struggled to even ask this question because I don't think there is surfing where you're from. I may be mistaken on that. So I guess the question is like, what's surfing like where you learned to surf?
So I grew up in Eastern Ontario in Canada.
Surf City, Canada.
Yeah, Surf City, Canada. St. Lawrence River. And, you know, then I've lived in Toronto for a long time. I very first learned to surf in Australia. And then basically my surf career, if you will, has been here in El Salvador mostly. But there is actually a pretty thriving Great Lakes surfing scene in Toronto.
And were you part of that scene?
No, so I've thought about doing it a bunch of times, but you know, I don't have the I don't even know what wetsuit they wear, 6'5", hood, booties, a different board because it's fresh water. So every time I cost it all out, like I'm like, I got to rent all this stuff, and then I maybe got to rent a car to get there. I'm just like, I could just buy a flight to Mexico and surf warm waves and better waves. But I mean, I do admire them.
I'm sure that's occurred to them as well.
Yeah, but not everybody can. And the other thing is you have to be super flexible because it's wind swell, right? So you got to be like, oh crap, it's here, throwing everything to the side and getting in the car and driving somewhere. So yeah, I haven't done it yet, but I want to.
Have you hung out with any? Is there like a scene there? Is there like a local bar that everyone goes to, or like a surf shop?
There's a shop. Yeah,
there's a shop.
It's called. I'll plug them. Surf the Greats. Yeah, there's a shop.
Get out. I want a sticker.
With like a cafe, and they do events. You know, bring in surf filmmakers and surfers, and they did. Actually, that's where I took a Carver clinic, like a surf skate clinic with them.
Wow, they're like really in it.
Yeah, so, and lots of people. It obviously, like you said, exploded during COVID, but even before that.
Has it been around, the shop?
Yeah, it's been around. Yeah,
No way.
yeah. I don't know when the shop started, but the couple that started, like, I think it started more as just like a surf community and then evolved into the store and beyond. But yeah.
That is really fascinating.
So it does exist. You got to like put Vaseline on your face. You don't get, you know, the icicles and all that. I don't know.
The waves get good up there. I see this. I mean, look, I lived in Miami for a long time, and it's mostly wind swell.
Yeah.
So we know the Great Lakes pain, like for sure. It just, we don't know the cold. And then I grew up in New York and surfed all winter, up there, and same thing, freezing cold, like, you know, icicles on your face, cold.
Yeah, which I don't know about that. My thing is always like, what do you do after?
Pour hot water into your wetsuit.
Yeah, but like, where's the hot water coming? You got
a thermos.
You gotta. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like,
all you cold water surfers, if you don't know that, hot thermos. Wrap your towel in a hot tub.
Okay. Because I was like, if there's a hot tub right outside the lake, that seems cool.
I want to take that surf trip.
And then
I want to take the surf.
Right in. But otherwise,
bears, whiskey, hot tubs. You know, slippery black rocks with moss on them.
I feel like you're picturing BC more than Lake Ontario. Just saying.
I think I am. Well,
a little bit of that maybe, certain parts of but my vision, you know, when I think of Lake Ontario surfing, I think of Toronto, like basically Toronto or right near Toronto. So yeah, it was. No bears for sure.
No bears?
sad to tell you that.
I guess I just think Canada's full of bears and.
That's it. And we live in igloos and blah blah blah. You know.
I didn't say the last
We've
one.
heard that one.
No. Erika, what about you? Where did you grow up surfing?
So I'm from Montreal.
Like?
And actually Montreal has a great river surfing scene. So Montreal itself is almost an island, but it's kind of an island. And which nobody knows if you're not from there. And so it's surrounded by it's in the middle of the St. Laurent River, and there are different spots where there are static waves that have been created in the river.
What, people like put in stuff to make those?
No, well, no, they are natural.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And very accessible. I think that like now maybe they've found ways to like make them a little bit better. And I know that we just built a new bridge to reach the island. And when this new bridge project was in development, a lot of people were trying to push so that all the dirt that would be moved for the bridge would be used to create many of those static waves, and that Montreal would become the capital of river surfing. Project did not pass, but we still have 3 main static waves, and it's pretty accessible, close to shore. So there's always people there surfing. During summer, you can even surf without a wetsuit. It's warm, and it works like all year round. Like some of my friends are surfing like through the ice that is passing. I find it really dangerous and crazy, but anyhow, some people are highly motivated, I think. But I've tried it a few times there, but a little bit like Amanda said, like, I've got the chance to be living here since almost 9 years and been, living abroad since more than a decade. So every time I go and I see the river surfing again, I'm like, I'll be back down south in a week.
Maybe I'll just go hang out with my family.
I'll go for a run.
Exactly. I'll go for a run. I'll go for a bike ride. Like when I go back to Montreal, I love to do other activities that I cannot do while I'm here.
Yeah.
But huge surf culture though in Quebec. People love anything related to surf.
Okay, so what is it like there? That culture, like, is there like a scene of like short boarders and long boarders? Are there like what do you call them? Like hipster kind of surfers? Is there like the thrash metal punk? Like put their fist through a board if they don't land an air, guys.
No, I think that you have like a mix of things, but basically like there is the people that surf the river and a lot of people that love to go down to New Hampshire when there's a swell. So it's a 4-hour drive only for us. So that's the closest ocean surfing spot, and like it's very typical for people from Quebec to drive to New Hampshire every time there's like 1 foot on the forecast. So lots of like
how many people are we talking about? Like if there's a swell coming to New Hampshire, will you like get in the car with like, I don't know, 2 or 3 of your friends or something, I'm imagining, and then will you like get to the spot and you'll see like 12 other cars from your home? Or like 100 other cars, or like 1 other car, or none?
Well, I mean, not 100, but not 1. Somewhere in between 1 and 100.
That is.
She's precise.
No, but it is popular. It's a very popular from my generation. Like the people of my age to like go there for a few days, enjoy the beach, and at the same time surf. And you really have all levels, like because it's never huge there. Besides the winter or like fall hurricane swells. So that's very much more the more motivated ones that go. But in summer it's really like kind of like accessible. And at the river surfing in Montreal, like you would be very surprised to see how many people are in the lineup, because you wait on shore and then you paddle.
It's like a literal lineup, like a line.
It's a line, and then you get yourself backward, so you're gonna come in the wave like backward, and then you let the current take you, and then at some point you paddle and then you get into it, and then you can ride it like for forever unless you fall, because it's an endless wave.
Yeah, so how do you move the line forward if someone's just like la la la?
So
really
there's
good,
kind of like
I won't stop,
there is a
la,
surf
la, la.
etiquette that after 2 minutes ish you should get off.
Really?
If you haven't fallen.
Huh.
Yeah. And otherwise the other people are bitching at you in the lineup. No, but like otherwise someone else will just go and kind of like dislodge you.
Bye.
Yeah.
This would work great in like a real lineup. I wish like we could have that same sort of dynamic. You'd be like, and you're gone.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah, but I think
we have
like,
decided.
But there's a camaraderie. Like people were like, okay, like I acknowledge I've been on the way for a while. Next, And
that does not sound like surfing to me. I'm like, how did they do
but
that?
at some days you go and there's so many. There's like 50 people that are there, and you're like, oh, and that's the reason why I don't love going it. But then it's like very social. You're in the lineup, you're chatting, and you have like people like I've seen women of like 55, 60 years old that are there, and old dudes, and then you also have like very young. So there's a huge like range of age that are there, and so yeah.
All right, I got a million questions now. Do these people learn to surf in the river?
So a lot of yes.
It's like
There's a school.
first time I stood up on a surfboard was in a river.
Yeah. There is a
So
school called
sick.
KSF, and they do river surfing courses, and they also do like kayak and like other things.
Uh-huh.
But they've really grew their business on teaching people how to river surf, and it's good. Like you need help at first, like how to understand like the you know the good point, or to start paddling, blah blah blah, and it works really good. And then while you're surfing, sometimes there's raft coming through, because there's rafting in this river too, which is always particular.
Ice in the winter, rafts in the
Yeah,
summer.
the other day, like we're there, I'm in the lineup, and there's someone surfing, and then the raft comes, and I would be like, oh my god, like I need to like, you know, exit. No, he stayed surfing. The raft came in between both of the surfers, because there's kind of like two peaks. So there was like two people.
It sounds like an old school video game.
And then the fucking
Just
raft
like-
coming through, and I was like, wow. I guess they're used to that. And then a kayak comes through, and then like, yeah, there's a lot happening. And the guys that are very used to surfing there now, they also have jet skis, and they go to other spots. Like, I haven't graduated enough to my river surfing that they haven't taken me out yet. But like, they're like, Erika, you need to surf a little bit more like the normal people spot before we take you with our jet skis to like some spot that are kind of like mid-river, or like not accessible from shore.
No.
They've discovered
way.
like a bunch of other spots, and especially when it's spring and the water, like the snow melts, the level of the river is at the highest. There's a lot of spots that only works then.
Oh my
And
God.
it's a thing, like,
mine is going a million.
It's
I'm
really
like,
cool going with the
Can
jet
you forecast?
skis.
You can forecast. Is there secret spots? There is
Yeah,
secret spots.
they
Is there only
actually-
spots that work in 70? Yeah, there are only spots in the river.
They even
So
built
sick.
an app for the forecast of the main wave, that is the main static waves. You can see like the level of the river that day, the how fast the water is flowing, blah blah blah. So like
They have way better data than
this
we do.
this app is like, it's like Montreal River Surfing. I don't know the name, but like it's fully developed by someone in Montreal, and it only shows the forecast for this static wave in the river. And yeah,
This is so cool.
Just always not sure. Like it terrifies me, because I'm like, won't I just end up going down the river?
Yeah,
No.
like where does when you wipe out?
This is
what
where
happens
like
next?
the fact that I can't really swim really freaks me out. Like
Okay,
that
yeah,
sounds
well-
So
so
you wipe out
scary to
surfing,
me.
you get pushed into shore, more or less.
Más o menos, yeah.
And in a river, you get pushed to the ocean.
yeah, no. So this one, as I said, is pretty close to shore, and then after the wave, there's like a few more rapids, and then there's kind of like some flat pools, which when you're stuck in the pools is the worst, because you're kind of like not moving, because the water comes from underneath, because I guess it goes into the rapid and then under, and then comes up there, and you're like you're like, oh shit, I'm stuck in a pool, and you're like paddling, but like nothing is happening. And
I'm
then
like, I know what that feels like.
and then and then after that, it kind of like quiets down, and you get a moment that it's really easy to exit. So like the guys or the girls that are really good, they might fall like at the exact good point, and there's a side current that takes you to shore really quickly. And if you miss this point, which I always miss, you end up like further, and it's okay. Like it gets really calm, and then you can just exit easily, walk back through the forest, do it again.
Because I go just super dramatic. I'm like, I'm stuck.
No,
then there's
no.
rapids. Then there's a waterfall.
yeah, I got
and
the
like,
fire department is on the next bridge.
But there
with
is
like
a
hook.
bridge later on, and after the bridge, there is some turbines for hydroelectricity.
Oh my God,
But like that's what they told me at first. They're like, make sure you don't miss the exit, because you're gonna end up in the turbines. And I was like, this is, now I know this was always a myth. But I've paddled fast.
Okay. You're like, there's
Very
still
effective.
a chance it's true.
Yeah, I don't want to
Very
be.
effective.
I don't want to become hydroelectricity myself. Like, but that never
If you
happened.
had to go, it's kind of.
And
a
I've
good way.
never heard of any accident. Like
Okay.
it's really far. Honestly, it really gets quiet, the river, and it's
Okay.
fine. Like, yeah.
And the people that teach it. So I did. What is it, wake surfing, like
Uh-huh.
behind a boat.
Oh yeah.
And the guy who taught me had like made this helmet with a headset in it,
Uh-huh.
so he could be on the boat to kind of tell me when to stand, when to let go of the rope. And I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah,
like, I wish I had had this with regular surfing.
They did that with kite surf.
Like someone like with a headset telling me exactly what to do.
They did that in kite surf.
Ah,
Really?
okay.
But they don't do that at the static wave.
river?
No,
Okay.
he's with you next, like
Okay.
by your side, basically.
Okay.
The guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
And
Maybe this
Toronto
summer.
did not have the scene like this.
No river, but the lake. Like I said, the lake is there.
Yeah, I think the lake's got to be a lot harder to sort of like congregate around because it's so fleeting. You're just like, there was waves when, like half hour ago for 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not a good authority on it. There's definitely people, there's a crew, a tight crew. There's like photographers that I follow, that are always chasing
Shooting
the
there?
waves and then shooting. Yeah, like there's a scene for sure, much the same as anywhere else where there's surf, but I'm just not as involved in it, I would say.
Well, this brings me to the next question. So, where you came from, clearly, like, you guys travel. Is that normal and what inspired you guys to get on the road and start looking at other places to surf? Like, for me, when I grew up surfing as a kid, I just thought, like, yeah, you surf in Long Island because that's where you live. And then I was like, wait, you can go and do this other places? It was like never like really occurred to me. I'd seen it in the magazines and stuff, and I was like, yeah, well, those are the guys that live in California that surf in California. And the guys in Hawaii surf in Hawaii. And I surf in New York, and my waves suck. That's just how it is. And then I like went on a trip, and I was like, oh.
Mind blown. People
Yeah.
getting on planes, going all over the world surfing.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing. So how did that become a thing for you? I'm guessing maybe it wasn't
Yeah, I
as-
think it's different for us. Like, I feel like even though we have this river surfing scene and this little culture that is developing around surfing, it remains mainly something you do elsewhere. Yeah, that you dream of going to Australia to surf. And I actually feel like I've tried surfing for the first time more in Australia than I did in the river personally. And yeah, it's not like, especially if you look back like 15 years ago when I got interested in surfing, it wasn't a huge thing back home. So it was the thing that you would go to Costa Rica and Australia and try doing, Yeah, definitely. Like, we grew up more about like snowboarding and hockey. That's
Accurate.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say more stereotypical.
I don't think I
Canadian
ever,
things.
like, when I knew I was going to Australia, I was like, okay, well, I'll have to take one lesson when I'm there because, like, as
so you were
do,
just
you
traveling.
can't. No, I'm terrified of the ocean and, like, really
Well.
scared of, or not anymore, but, I was. So I was like, I'm going to do one lesson to be like, I didn't go to Australia and spend an entire year there and not take a surf lesson. I
This
was
is-
like, I
this
gotta
is your
just
surfing
check
origin
the
story?
box.
No
yeah,
way.
I'm going to tick the box. And then I just really liked it. It was like having a focus that, other than not drowning, was transformative. really.
Enjoyment creeped in just enough. You're
Just
like,
enough,
"Oh,
honestly, yeah.
oh."
But then
What's
it was
this
a long time
odd
after
feeling?
that I actually, progressed beyond, full-on beginner status. Took a long time because that was like, I don't know, 2008 maybe, and then didn't surf for years after I left Australia.
Really?
And then, would take these little trips. So the seed was planted for whatever reason, and then I got a remote job, and then it was like, here we go.
Here
It's
we go.
on.
What?
Well, now I can like be by a wave and like really learn how to do this, and finally stop having this like progression regression thing that I always had.
So where did you go first?
Right away, when I first got a remote job, the first trip was Panama, Playa Banao, I think I was for a few weeks. But basically here, really. I came like, I think that was like sort of my life is in seasons now. So my second season of being a remote, of having a remote job, I came here, and then I just kept coming back, and then it was COVID and I stayed. And finally, made it past that hump of like full-on beginner to advanced beginner. I called myself for quite a long time.
And now you're in El Zonte.
Yeah, I mean, I took some other trips like through that period, but I really progressed here.
Yeah, same for me.
I want to add, so now I'm going to go back to the top of these things because when I asked you, like, Well, when I developed these questions, I sort of assumed that most of the people that I'd be talking to, or all of them, would have grown up on a coast and learned to surf there, and which is a terrible assumption to make in terms of my questions, because it just misses out on the point of being able to ask you now, like, okay, what's the culture like where you really surf or where you live? So like, so what is the surf culture like here for you guys? Because I mean, Toronto is one thing and Montreal is another. Like, that was fascinating. But like now you're actually like in a place that has surfing going on, and there is a culture here, right?
There is one, growing and evolving, and like sometimes I honestly think that, like, funny enough, the culture there is in Montreal around surfing is almost bigger than it is or it was here.
I could totally see that being the case. Well, it goes generations in Montreal, right? Here it goes like maybe 2 generations.
No, I don't think it goes generation in Montreal, but people are just like tripping balls on the surf concept. And it's true. It's like, you would have a t-shirt written like surf, and they're like, I want it. And here I think that like the thing is, here or developing countries, surfing or anything that is recreational is part of like emancipation of self, you know. And when you're still trying to survive and like fill up more of like the basic stuff in life, you don't have time or the opportunity to surf. And I think that as this country is evolving and there is more more money and people have more possibilities, then it's also evolving the culture of surfing. A lot of more possibilities, more young people are getting some money, not a lot of money, but like a little bit of possibilities or some trainings, or having the games and the big competition coming, like definitely did activate the local surf culture and possibilities. But I feel like it's been very progressing, only in terms of like how many people you see, how many girls you see in the water. You used to see like almost none. Yeah, there would be like 3 or 4 local girls that would be surfing across all La Libertad, and that are like my age, you know. And now like the new generation, all the girls that are part of the selection, the Salvadorian surf selection, they're all like under 20. You know, they're like 15, 16. It's the new generation. But I feel like there is the OGs, you know. There's been people surfing for a long time, but it wasn't such recognized, or there was no budget. National circuit was like you win basically a coconut, and like, you know, it was so little. Now only, and I kind of want to give that to Surf City in a way that like they did bring on huge events and therefore there's been some activation as like on a national level, but otherwise I feel like most of the surf culture were the tourists coming here to enjoy the waves way more. And still to this day, like surfing here where we surf on a daily basis, you and I, like the river mouth, where are the locals, you know? Like it's almost all foreigners surfing there. So I think that actually foreigners are a big part of the surf culture here in a way. And as for girls, I want to say that I'm under the impression that them seeing foreigner girls coming and surfing, I've inspired a lot of local girls to get into it as well, and see that it is possible. It's like, oh,
wait, what are you doing?
Yeah, these girls are surfing and they're not just like having babies at 16. Like, And I remember like some, there's this project here, Hijas del Mar, which is trying to empower the young generation through surfing and skating. And a few years back, they did one of the meetup or like local camp for girls, and some other surfers. There was Mimi Barona, which is a pro surfer from Ecuador, and some other the girls that are in their 30s here, Evelyn, that is a local from here, and they got to speak to the younger generation about like their professional career as surfers. And it was like a huge part of the conversation is like, if you want to pursue a career as a professional surfer, if surfing is your thing, like don't get pregnant. Like you don't need to have a kid at 16. Like there's other possibilities, but it's gonna change the course of your life if you go that direction, you know.
Whoa, yeah.
And it sounds like whoa to us, but that's the reality for most women here. They start a family super early, and they don't consider that like they could just like surf and like try to make a career out of it, and not consider like helping the family or building a family before 20.
Yeah, none of these options really were apparent, I don't think, before surfing became more popular here, really.
Exactly.
And like you said, like the big contest coming here, I think really only helps to show, I guess, like what is possible, and putting it on the global stage. I think it'd probably be nice if more of that actually got down to the community, and it wasn't just like a circus coming to town, and then like you see all the animals, and then you're like, whoa, tigers exist, and then the tigers get on the train and leave, and you're like, whoa, tigers aren't here anymore. What happened to the tigers? You're like, oh, there's now just a rusty cage where the tigers used to be. You're like, oh shit. Well, at least we know the tigers exist, and I guess that's like a little bit. And it's a very strange analogy, Bradley.
Yeah, no, but I get it. It's good. We get it. I was not sure where you were going with this, but like, yeah.
I think it's been fun. I mean, I have so much to say on the whole topic of the surfing culture here.
Go.
From a super selfish perspective, because I feel like it's given me so much. But one of the really fun things, actually, that I saw, that I've noticed, you know, it's been year 5 or 6 or something coming here, is actually that there's a lot more women surfers in the water, like that don't have intentions of going pro, are truly just enjoying their backyard, which I think is really fun, right? It's like maybe they do have intentions, but you know, they're not training, it doesn't appear. It's not like they're the younger generation that are under 20. They're in their 20s, and I see them a lot more in the water now, I remember when they started, seeming kind of around the same time as me, it almost seems, but that's also probably a selfish perspective. But anyways, seeing people just taking it up recreationally and enjoying it is also really fun, you know. That's been a change. And
well,
then,
you see all them people coming into the sport just, you know, in droves. And if there's going to be more and more people, some of those people are going to be women. And across the women category, you're going to have, you know, people that have aspirations to be professional, or you're going to have people that are just like, I want to go on a vacation with my girlfriends once a year, and we're all going to go surfing, and that's it, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but I'm talking Salvadorian women.
That's even and that's like a whole other thing.
One morning, I remember I was sitting with a friend having a coffee, and we saw two couples walking up the beach, and I was like, this is amazing. The 2 women are the ones with the surfboards, and their boyfriends were the ones going to be sitting on the beach, I don't know, filming them or something. And I was like, yeah, I love this. And that has been my experience here. A lot of women, and super encouraging. So I don't know if that's everyone's experience, but and maybe it's because I like to cheer for others, so maybe people cheer for me too because of that. But I feel like I'm a child sometimes, like with people being like, "Yeah, you're doing so well, you're improving," or "I saw your wave this morning." I mean, what a rush!
I think it's funny that you call it like being like a child. Yeah, it is childlike, but why can't adults act like that? You know, like it doesn't need to only be a childlike behavior to be enthusiastic and optimistic about your surroundings and your people that you're with, right?
Yeah.
I guess it just so happens that most people are not like that. And when you show it, I mean, I'm kind of like that too, Amanda, you know. And I mean, this is called Thank You Surfing, for God's sake. So, you know, I like cheer for random people, and especially like the guys here, like at some of the more, I don't know, contested, competitive spots. And these are the guys that everyone's kind of like nervous to be around, and I'm cheering for their waves, and they're like, who is that guy? You know, like these are the same guys that don't want me surfing there. And I'm like, yeah, good wave. And they're like, what?
He's like, it's not my first time here. It's not my first wave, but thank you for the encouragement.
And yeah, like the first time they're like, what? And then the second time they're like, okay. The third time they're like, what? You didn't like that wave? Why didn't you cheer for that one? I'm like, oh, okay, you got conditioned, I guess. So what about the lineups here? Do you guys find the lineups intimidating? I mean, like you said, there is more women, so that's got to be like, I'd imagine a nice thing to like paddle out and be like, oh, there's other people like me here. Great.
Yeah, I didn't think that it really made an impact for me that much. And then after the first time I spent extended period of time here surfing where there was a ton of women in the lineup, and then I went somewhere else. And I was like, oh, there is just a different energy when you paddle out and you're the only woman, especially when you're in this kind of stage where you're like, I'm not a beginner anymore. People are looking at you like, oh God, here comes this girl. What is she gonna do? And I'm like, no, I promise, I can do this. I won't get in your way, and and I can do this. So yeah, it.
Well, lineups are exclusive like that. I don't even know if that's like a gender or a sex thing. I think it's just like everyone paddles out into the lineup, and you're just like quickly assessing. You're like, do I want to talk to this person? Am I mad at this person? Is this person my friend? I can't quite see yet. Oh, no, I can tell by the way they duck dive. That's my friend. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm glad they're paddling out, not this other person I don't want to see right now.
Exactly. It can totally affect your mood, right? Like who's paddling. I think the lineup here is actually very friendly. Obviously depends on each spot, but here in Zante, at least, like both spots are super friendly, I would say. And that's why we like living here, I guess. And different spots, different energy, different vibes, as one would imagine. I think that, like, obviously on bigger days and in the different spots here that are more, intermediate to advanced, the energy will be completely different. And in that case, I often find myself being the only woman in those more advanced spots, or like there's very little women. But I don't hate it. I mean, it just is, and I still believe that it's more friendly than most places one would travel. And I've traveled in a lot of different places for surfing, and even in Ecuador, which all of the guys would be my friend outside of the water. In the water, they were so competitive, and I was like, bro, like, thought we were friends. And honestly, I was there for a month, and I started boxing instead, because I was like, no, this is not okay. Like, nobody is giving me a single chance, and the level was really high. Like, no wave would go unridden, and they were all my friends, but they were all on the wave, and then I want to drop in, and then I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna take private boxing lessons. Not related, like I didn't want to box them, but like
are you
also
sure?
maybe a little bit. I was like, I need to like rechannel my aggressivity.
Correlation is not causation.
Yeah.
But this seems pretty close.
I mean, my mind went there immediately. I'm like, oh, that's a logical step.
Yeah.
Step.
But I guess it just goes back to me being like, okay, if surfing might not give me the satisfaction I'm looking for, I'm gonna go for another sport.
Yeah.
And so that was a reflection. But yeah, I think here lineup is really chill. It's really welcoming, very very foreigner based, honestly. And that's the thing, because there's so many foreigners, we all know that none of us own this place. None of us are locals, and therefore it's like, I guess you have the same rights as me. So yeah.
Yeah, it is true that there's two lineups here. There's a local lineup and a foreigner lineup, and that's that. And it's kind of a good system. I kind of just slide right in there and be like, okay, let me see how high I can get into the foreigner lineup. And like that's I mean that glass ceiling's fine for me. This is not my homeland, so
exactly. And after a while of being here, like even I'll be surfing and be like, newer foreigner. He doesn't know as much. I'm getting the like old foreigner priority.
Well, you also just know where to sit, and you like, and like who's gonna go right on the peak because you know which way they always go, and who's gonna leave the left wide open for you.
Exactly.
Not me, by the way.
No, exactly. We know, and we do understand the wave quite a bit now after all this time, and it shows. Like,
and I think most of the people that do show up and stay for a while do learn to be respectful if they weren't in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think you're right. People are really friendly, and like it is a great place to come and surf and live and hang out, but it's not your place, and like you have to be respectful, and you'll learn that pretty quick if you're not. And it could be a foreigner telling you how to like be respectful too, which is something that I have done on a number of occasions, just because I don't like to see like, things go in the wrong direction anywhere, but like in your home lineups, Like,
yeah, but
man,
I
like,
think
everyone
also
be
that
cool. Like,
yeah, and
dude,
I think
follow
that
the
like
rules.
in the lineups that are more in the places like let's say like
Pipeline.
which are more advanced break, if you're cooking around, you're gonna get tell mainly because they want to conserve like the level there in a way that we don't want to have beginners like dropping in a wave that is already a little dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing. Like I don't always love the way it's being done. Often kills the vibe when they're calling off someone super like in front of everybody. But I understand that like
Something needs to happen.
yeah, the idea is that like I don't think you're supposed to be there. This is dangerous, and you should go to the more beginner spot.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a few different ways to educate people in that matter.
Yeah.
One is to pull them aside and explain these things and say, there's a better way. You can learn more. Let me show you. Or
yeah. They often go for that second option, which is like, why do we have to publicly shame this person and kill everybody's vibe? But
it's faster.
that's the thing.
Usually.
There's nothing I can say because that's the thing. I'm a foreigner too, and the last thing I want is to be in the position of the person that is getting screamed at. So I'm just like, but
We're about to be killed by that person.
yeah,
You know.
exactly.
All right, one last question. It's been really nice talking to you guys about all this stuff so far, and I feel like we can do another 7 episodes. Where do you think surfing's going? What's the future of surfing? For you, for the place we're in, for surfing in general? Are we all going to have hoverboards like in Back to the Future?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I can just speak for myself, but I haven't really thought about the
Speak for
future
your-
of surfing.
speak
I
for
feel like
yourself.
there's probably some sort of critical mass at some point. Like, you know, not everyone will get as addicted as we have become. And, you know, so they'll kind of will balance out. Or there'll be some new crazy sport that everyone wants to participate in, maybe.
Maybe. Like pickleball.
Exactly. I mean,
Sweeping.
if I wasn't here, I probably would have tried it by now.
I know, same. Actually, we should bring pickleball here.
Pickleball court?
it would
What is
try.
it?
Pickleball El Zonte.
Yeah.
It would thrive.
Yeah,
it would
probably.
go bananas.
Let's talk business after this.
All right, we're starting a pickleball stadium.
Uh,
Pickleball City. That's what we'll call
We're
it.
in.
We accept Bitcoin.
Pickleball City. You're so original, Brad. Yeah, so I don't know. For me, I was just thinking today, I was like, I think I've kind of like peaked in terms of like the kind of waves I want to surf. I just want to get more stylish.
Ooh.
And that's it. Like I don't think I want to surf bigger waves, or if I only just got, you know, microscopically better from here, I'm okay.
So just working on style points.
I mean, I don't even know if I'm there yet, but like just I get so much joy from it. I do think that you know, in hearing you speak and hearing other people who are definitely more advanced than me, I think I'm in this sweet spot where it's still almost always amazingly fun.
That spot doesn't really leave.
Is that it doesn't leave?
No,
Okay,
it
I don't know, or like my.
I used to surf in the rain and the
I'm
snow.
more I don't know. I
drive
don't
4
care about
hours
the
in
waves
traffic,
so much.
and
You
I'd
know,
still come
the
out
vibe is
happier.
good.
That's like more a mindset.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I feel like it's brought so much to my life, and I hope it continues to do so.
Thank you, surfing.
Yeah, thank you, surfing. Truly,
so nice.
truly.
Yeah.
It like whatever, International Surfing Day or something. That was the end of my post. Was thank you, surfing. You brought me so much in my life.
I think that surf gonna continue to grow and become more and more popular. Like I run, you know, surf trips for women, and I've only seen it grow and get more and more popular. And I hope it does. Obviously, like it's my line of business as well. So to have more and more people that are curious about the sport and trying, and I hope it does, because I guess that not everybody will pick up surfing as their main sport. A lot of people that come for surf travels, at least, just want to give it a shot and experience something new, face some fears in the ocean, challenge themselves in their relationship with the ocean, and then might never really touch a board again. And that's fine. And I wish that like surfing allows that, to like challenge yourself and unlock some your relationship with
with fear and your relationship with the ocean. And on a national aspect, I think that here it will continue to become more and more popular as a place for athletes to come train because it's so consistent. And obviously the current development projects are definitely pushing in that direction to try to make it a very inviting place for athletes to come train and for more international competition to become recurrent. So I think this is the direction is going for El Salvador, at least, as becoming a renowned place, both for traveling and for training for elite surfers. I hope that we still find some little spots to surf for ourselves, though. But that's very personal.
Yeah. Can't have both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I love when my friends surf, but not too many of them.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, you guys, I think we did it. I think we did a podcast.
Yo.
Amanda,
First ever.
Erika, thank you so much. This is Brad Wills signing off. Talk Story Season 3 Episode
3.
Nice. Yeah, all the help I can get.
We fixed your filing system. We're going with 3. We're going with 3, and that's it. Maybe there's 2 3s. There's 2 number 3s. It's fine. Doesn't matter.
It takes a village, and I'm the idiot. So
that's why we love you.
Thank you, guys. We'll catch you next time. Subscribe, do all the things, tell your friends, call your mom.
Call your mom.
That's it. Peace.
Bye.
Thank you.
Today's episode was brought to you by Brightbox, marketing for design, architecture, and hospitality. I'm AIM Capital, experts in revitalizing Miami's urban multifamily real estate. And Team Key Aquatics, fostering growth and excellence in aquatic sports.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Thank You Surfing Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to stay updated and let us know your thoughts. Catch you next time, and keep surfing.